Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be in the world. Welcome to the Sensitive Stability BPD live show. For those of you who don't know me, I am your host. My name is Kevin Reynolds. I am a BPD survivor and a BPD coach. We go live here on TikTok Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. US EST, where we talk about a different topic related to borderline personality disorder. So this morning, I had a couple topic ideas in mind, but it is also a holiday. It's Christmas, right? So I thought, which one of these topics actually fits the season a little better? I think what I'd like to discuss this morning is fairness. Feeling wronged, or as though, thank you, Sophina, something is unfair, is one of our bigger triggers. It's a pretty big trigger. Thank you, Pasha. And that's because we are measuring our value in the world before remission based upon what everyone else thinks of us, what everyone else believes about us. That's what we choose to believe about ourselves. So this idea that others might get more or may get what they deserve and we don't is something that can fester. And it often does. It does fester. It's not easy starting out in a victim scenario, which is what a lot of us get. You know, we start life, bad things happen, invalidating environment, trauma, all of that stuff. Usually some sort of abandonment or perception of abandonment. And none of that's fair. So as you grow up, as you move through life, makes a lot of sense that you might spend more time than the neurotypical person worried about whether or not you're getting yours, whether or not you're getting treated fairly, whether or not you're being looked at properly. Explains why a lot of these triggers form. But particularly around holiday seasons, there's a lot of reasons to feel, a lot of reasons that might instigate the feeling of I'm not getting my fair share, right? I'm not getting taken care of. There's something that, other people are getting that I'm not getting. Whether it be from the monetary, materialistic kind of gifting perspective. I'm looking at my past, thinking about the times when I was in a room where I got very few gifts, for example, right? Maybe you're at your in-laws' house and they're not treating you the same as their kids, right? Stuff like that. And then there's the other perspective. There's the perspective of who cares about me? If they cared about me, they'd reach out. If they cared about me, they'd do this. If they cared about me, they'd do that. Life is so unfair for me. And I had that perspective. I thought almost everything that happened seemed unfair. And specifically about me. That's the other part of that. I also felt that everything that was happening was specifically planned for me. You know what I mean? Somebody didn't give me something I felt like I deserved. I said, well, they did that on purpose. I didn't get noticed or recognition or attention somewhere I went. Well, that was by design. And if it wasn't by design, then it's because I don't deserve it. But one thing's for sure, it's unfair. It's unfair. And the closest neighbor in terms of triggers to the feeling wronged, feeling like something's unfair trigger, a very close neighbor would be comparing yourself to other people. It's very easy. Thank you, user. I wish I looked so realistic, man. I look at that. It looks like I'm really wearing it. TikTok's getting crazy with that stuff. But it's feeling compared to other people. It's very easy for me to look at every other person in my life and say, well, they get more. It works out for them. Nobody treats them this way. How come they get everything? Why did they get what I deserve? You know what I mean? It's like I would compare myself to every person around me, which made no sense. Thanks, guys. A lot of times it made zero sense. They would be people that, there's no need to compare yourself to, and there's no benefit to comparing yourself to this person, but yet I didn't get what I feel like I deserve. I can't explain enough how much that would drive my negative attitude. Feeling like the rest of the world owes me. Feeling like wherever I go, they should be rolling out the red carpet for me. That type of, we talked about entitlement at some point earlier this week. I can't remember the exact day, or recently we have. It goes right alongside thinking like that. This entitled perspective that the world owes me and it should be giving. It should be giving to me. Look at all that I do. Look at all that I am. Doesn't the world see me? And if it did, it would be giving to me, and they'd be treating me this way, and I'd be taken care of and respected, and I'd be thought of. And you see how that thinking, it's so hard to walk yourself out of it. Thanks, Vitality. If I were to try to walk myself out of that thinking, say some friend is listening to me, our partner. Well, I'm sure that's not the case, honey. And I'd say, oh, it most certainly is, and this is why. And then they find a reason to help me, a way to dismantle that reason, that additional justification I'd give. And I'd have another one, and another one, and another one, and another one. At some point in time, I had to look at myself and say, dude, it kind of sounds like you want to be miserable. It kind of sounds like you want to be upset. And that was one of the only ways I could get out of the victim mentality that this condition carefully curates and molds. It's the only way that I could stop worrying about what others have that I don't have, what others are getting that I'm not getting. Holy shit. Looks like I'm about to do a ritual here. That was a nice one. So I would fight every justification that someone else gave me as to why I was wrong, and I had to be right. Another side of this coin is our weak sense of self puts us in positions where we right fight. We have to be right, otherwise we don't feel good enough, right? So even when I'm arguing or talking about something extremely negative that I myself should want to change, I would instead sound like depression's promotional team. I would sound like I am sticking up for depression. And I would actually get angry if I got challenged enough. And then I would take that out on the people around me, including those who were ironically trying to make me feel better. Isn't that weird? But that does happen, and it happens a lot around these kinds of holidays. So keep it together and remember that this is just one day and that you do have to live in tomorrow, and you will. And what you do today does have an impact on tomorrow. User says, Merry Christmas. Help, help. Not to split on my family today. Oh my God, I'm on the edge. Okay. I'm on the edge of spending Christmas alone this year. Can't wait for it to be over, to be honest. Well, I had that perspective a lot of the time about holidays myself. If I'm being completely honest, I have found, I'll tell you the truth here, user, of how I look at the holidays. Instead of, hiding behind the trite thing of, holidays are great. Holidays stress me out a lot more than a normal day, even in remission. It's not because I feel I'm at risk for displaying BPD properties anymore, but my general disdain for holidays comes from a place of, I guess, societal obligation. You know what I mean? It's so weirdly commercialized. I have that kind of perspective about it, and I feel like it kind of grossly forces people into like wanting to spend a bunch of money and all this stuff. And in reality, I have achieved this gratitude that I have on a daily basis for my family, that I have on a daily basis for my wife and my friends, to where I am grateful for you on a normal Wednesday. It doesn't have to be Christmas for me to want to get together with somebody, or, although I don't have as much time as I'd like, I appreciate getting together with people, whether it's Christmas or not. And that's how I look at it. So then on Christmas, I say, well, really this, how I wrap my mind around it is I say, well, it's really just about everyone else. Because I don't need this. I don't need this Christmas event to feel connected and loved and to love other people and to give. If I want to give, I'll give you something. Of course, I go ahead and I exchange gifts on Christmas too. But in general, I look at it and I just say it's unnecessary added pressure. So what I do, users, I kind of look at it, and Cece says I'm solo this year. Well, solo could be pretty all right. I'll tell you what, solo doesn't have to be a bad thing, but you have to turn it into a happy event. And that's how I look at it. I look at it like, if this is for everyone else. And if somebody else wants to, needs me over there, wants me over there, I'm invited somewhere, whatever it may be, I'll go. I'm going for them. I'm going because it's the right thing to do for them. You know what I mean? I'm not going for myself, really. I mean, I'll extract the good that's in front of me, no matter what, though. Whether it's Christmas or a normal Wednesday. You see what I'm saying? I think there's good times and being alone if you look at it the right way as well. I think that's also very true. User says, thank you for your honesty and transparency. You've helped so much. You're very welcome. It's one thing I will never stop doing. It's being completely honest and open and totally myself. When I decided to do all of this, I was really nervous, put my whole life on the internet like this, but I had decided that the only way that I could possibly come even remotely close to helping people with this condition is if they could see the real me. So you might not like me all the time. You know what I mean? You may not like me all the time. I know there's people in here who, they probably don't say any curse words. Every once in a while I say the word fuck, it just happens. It comes out of my mouth. And it always will, probably. So I say it. But I say everything else, too. User says, my gift to myself this year is to finally email you and try to set up a plan to help myself. Well, I'm honored to be a part of that. I really am. That makes me feel good reading that. I'm glad that I have something that I can offer you that would make your life way better. And I'm glad to hear that the message that I'm sending is received in a way where people can see hope and light at the end of the tunnel and actually want to have a future. You know what I mean? Actually want to have a good time, maybe want to have a good life, want to treat yourself the way you should be, want to reward yourself for being good enough in general, and then reap benefits. There are benefits. There's a lot of benefits to being alive, and there's a lot of benefits to being alive with this condition. And that's the truth. If I didn't have BPD and I knew what I knew now, I would want BPD. I would want it. That's the God honest truth. But I have to get rid of these negative coping mechanisms to want it, right? It's amazing though. It's amazing on the other end. So good for you, user. Good morning, M. I prefer alone or less for holidays. Holidays get triggering and more overwhelming. Oh, God, that's creepy. Sorry. Okay, holidays get triggering and more overwhelming than needed. Sure. It's trigger zones go beyond holidays too, though. So at some point, it's like we kind of have to draw the line. You could choose to be introverted, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm still an introvert. I don't like large crowds still. I'll go do the stuff that I need to do if I'm with somebody that wants to do it. A friend wants to do it. My mother wants to go to a concert or whatever. I'll take her to for the Mozart celebration, whatever it may be. My wife wants to do stuff. I do stuff with her. And I like it because I like what I'm doing for the other people. But I would never do this stuff myself. If I was by myself, there's no way I'd, go to a concert or go to these types of things. I'm not interested in that. I don't like those large crowds. But I learned to cope with it knowing that someone else is getting something out of it, which is kind of the message I'm sending here. which is that these holidays, I don't look at them like they're for me. And that's the point. When you go before remission and I look at my life, the holidays became a sore topic. It was just a reminder of the stuff that wasn't right in my life, or the things that I wasn't getting in my life, or the things I felt I deserved and nobody saw. Instead of me looking at it for what I see it now, which is an opportunity to give to other people, that's what I look at it as. And if you really think about how we go about trying to get affection in our lives by giving, we're givers. We give, thinking we're going to get back. But yet holidays are so upsetting to us. I mean, that's an easy excuse to give. Holidays, Christmas time, like as much as I, feel like it's commercialized and ridiculous and all that, I still enjoy that moment where I get to go and get this special thing for somebody, or, I put time and effort into thinking about what they might want, and then I give to someone. That's still, I still enjoy that. And it's a good excuse to be able to do that. Amanda, good morning. Part of me wants to stay in bed and the other part wants to deal with family. Yeah. Well, when you have a holiday, wanting to stay in bed's a pretty common wish, especially if you're an adult who's been moving through life. If somebody said, oh, you get to sleep in today, I mean, I'd be overwhelmingly joyful. You know what I mean? I look at my life and I say, okay, so what happens if I were to skip a live and sleep in? Well, generally speaking, I have sessions almost immediately after my live. So that'd buy me, like 30, 40 minutes? And I kind of look at the benefits of that, and I don't know. I've never been a big fan of sleep, to be honest. Lately, in my older years, I would love to get a little extra sleep, but I like life, I like being awake. I have had periods of time where I'd sleep a lot to escape my problems, but generally speaking, I would avoid sleep specifically to do more life, even if that was choosing complaining. I preferred to complain all day than I did to sleep all day. That was just my delineation of it, but I think maybe look at it as what you can do for your family rather than having to deal with your family. Slight perspective change. Just observing says, Is there help for people who are victims of the BPD family members who destroyed our family of the BPD? Okay, so yeah, you're a partner or a parent or a kid or a friend of someone who has BPD. I actually run an entire support program for the people in someone's life who has BPD. So it started as a partner program for the spouses and partners of those who have BPD to help them better communicate and work with their BPD person. Thank you, Sil. And then, or get them on board with a remission program, just better cooperate all around together. But it's now something I do for parents, and I've been doing for a long time, for friends. There's a lot of resources for that. Please do reach out to me. Tell me a little bit about what's going on, just observing, and I will point you in the right direction. But there's most certainly resources. I also have a bunch of stuff available for you to dive into that's largely free. It's in what I call the Resource Center, the BPD Resource Center. If you want to click on my profile icon, click on the link tree, and look for the Resource Center, you'll find a whole bunch of stuff in there that might point you in the right direction. Of course, I don't know how versed you are or where you are in this journey or who your BPD person is to you, but that would be a good place to start. And then, of course, emailing me, telling me more of the story. I personally respond to all emails. I take that very seriously. I'll guide you whatever way I can. CC says, I've been exhausted since my dad passed 2 years ago. Depression won't leave me alone. Firstly, I am sorry to hear that, although everyone says sorry, and it never really helps, does it, CC? I mean, me saying I'm sorry for your loss, does that really make it any better? Maybe for a split second, you see that I'm a genuine human who has looked at your situation and said, wow, that would suck if my dad died. You know what I'm saying? That's what I hear most of the time when people say, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm hearing like, okay, so they don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. And they're also thinking about how this could apply to them if it were their situation. It's the same thing when you trip and fall into a mud pile. And everybody says, well, don't worry, everybody understands. Well, yeah, they sure shit do. They're all thinking, I'm glad it wasn't me that fell into the mud pile. So my point is, Cece, that I don't believe there's any person or thing out there that will magically take the pain away. And if you have noticed that the point that you really started suffering was about 2 years ago when you had lost somebody very important to you, have you even given yourself the opportunity to actually truly feel comfortable grieving the loss? A lot of times with BPD, the making peace with the things, the trauma and the loss and all that falls to the wayside somehow. And we often don't make peace with these things. Instead, we carry it. And we carry it. We carry it. And then it impacts how we feel about ourselves and how we feel about the rest of the world and our interactions and all this stuff. And I think that's a terrible way to live, and it hurts. Good morning, AJ. It's good to see you this morning. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to you. AJ says, you talked me through my mom passing so amazingly. Well, my friend, you know what, AJ? You and I have been friends for years now. It's true. And you would do the same for me. That's what good friends do. And I'm glad to hear that you're in good spirits this morning. You deserve it. You deserve it, man. You really do. So much of our life has been spent having to sit and suffering. And then we look at that and we say, well, half of it is, if not more. I'd even go as far to say 90% of it is self-curated. Sometimes I wanted to suffer. Sometimes I wanted to be sad. Sometimes I wanted to be the victim. Sometimes, very honestly, I didn't want to change. I was getting too much out of doing things the way I was doing it. And I didn't think that maybe there'd be a better way, but there almost always is. Sil says, when I miscarried my baby, I was distraught, but one day I decided I want my baby to see me be happy. That's what I'm talking about. That kind of mentality of, and that's just exactly another good example, Sil. That was a well-placed comment. Because the initial reaction everybody has is, I'm so sorry for your loss. And I very well may be very sorry to hear these things, and I very well am, But I hate that that's where a lot of the world stops. And this is the difference between us as BPD people and the rest of the world. I can feel the pain that you have. You know what I'm saying? I can literally feel it in my body when I read that comment. And it hurts. And it hurts. And I would want you to understand that your experience of pain, I mean, that is something that I can feel. I can feel in real time. That makes you not alone. It's hard to find that type of level of understanding. Some days you're going to cry. Some days you're going to be very upset. Some days you're going to take things out on yourself. Some days you're going to wake up and not want to do the day. Everybody has those moments, but it hurts worse when you have BPD. It really does. I mean, loss hurts worse. And that's because we have hyper fixated our focus on the past. That's a large part of our existence. It's how we're looking at the past. I think the ability of a past memory of a relative who has passed away being able to have such a significant impact on me in the present says a whole lot about the meaning of life and what life is. The energy of those people that were close to me, that I cared about, it feels like they're still always there. All I have to do is really think about it, think about the memory, and I re-experience it. Makes sense. The amygdala doesn't know the difference, but it feels real every time. Good morning, Alora. Merry Christmas to you. Why do we tend to feel so guilty sometimes for being happy, even in bad situations? Good question. It's because you don't feel you deserve happiness. It's because you don't feel that you deserve happiness, Laura. That's the reason. So when happiness happens, I feel guilty. I feel sad. When I'm doing something for myself and not for someone else, I feel guilty. I feel sad. I used to play a lot of video games when I was younger, and I can remember, and I still feel that natural, the innate neural pathway behind this still exists today. So we'll use today for example. I mean, like today's time. Let's say I want to play a game or something like that, or watch a show. I have my initial feeling is if my wife isn't okay with it or doesn't sanction it, that I feel guilty doing it. I feel guilty taking time to myself and watching my own show. And before remission, I spent a lot of time. Would you mind repinning this one by Amanda Amit? Thanks, man. Before remission, I would spend a lot of time trying to get whoever I was with or whatever to kind of approve of my downtime. Hey, babe, is it okay if I go play a game? Is it okay if I go watch a show? Yeah, babe, of course. Do whatever you want. Because they don't care, right? But you feel guilty because you're not sacrificing every piece of your damn self for the entire rest of the world at every moment. You don't feel you deserve to take care of yourself like somebody that you should take care of. Or treat yourself like somebody who deserves to be treated well. So the guilt, that's what happens. And until you start feeling worthy as a person, like somebody who actually deserves love and care, even for themselves, you will continue to feel that way about those kinds of things. Good morning, Amanda. Amanda says, how should I handle family that doesn't believe in mental health? Good question. My family, they would say, if I said my family didn't believe in mental illness, my parents, they'd say, well, that's not true. What I should say, let me clarify in that, as they believe that maybe other people could have mental illness, but not their own kids. You know what I mean? So I grew up in a household where, he doesn't have anything. Maybe there's some level of mental illness out there that exists, but not our son, right? I would say this, though. It's not important that they believe in this condition. It's not important that they believe in mental health. That is part of our problem. We care so much about what everyone else thinks. The only thing that matters, Amanda, is that you care about the behavioral things that need to change. That's it. That's the only thing. It's that simple. You must care about your own set of accountabilities and liabilities, responsibilities. That's it. And that's the trick. And you'll be infinitely happier because then you can actually fix the stuff, right? Alora asks, how do you know you are in remission? That's a good one. I spent the first year, more than the first year that I was in remission, I spent in absolute terror. I mean, I was scared every day for over a year. I was worried about having episodes, worried when I would split again, worried I would have some type of rage incident or fall into substance again or something like that. I was terrified for probably about 15 months or so. And I didn't know until my wife walks in the room one day, Carolyn, and she starts to walk past me. She stops, she turns around and says, I can't remember the last time you had an episode. And then we did the math and realized it'd been like 15 months or something crazy like that. And that was obscene for me. Like that's a ridiculous achievement. I was having episodes sometimes twice a week. Thank you, Vitality. That's when I realized that maybe I'm in the clear. Maybe it's okay. And then as time went on, I continued to work on myself and I continued to have epiphanies that taught me the perspective changes as to why this behavior in particular looked primitive or stupid. Why I looked like a child when I did this. Why I was less likely to get what I want when I did that. And I couldn't believe each one of these things that I discovered. So I would never find myself remotely even close to falling back into those traps again. But I had to kind of have somebody tell me that. In reality, there's ways that you can figure it out these days. And you'll notice through the perspective changes. That's the truth. Angela, good morning. Is autism common with BPD or easily confused with BPD? I would say that from the general public standpoint, people misdiagnose and confuse this condition with so many other conditions. Bipolar is a big one. Narcissism gets thrown in there a lot. ADHD gets thrown in there. Of course, we also have autism that gets thrown in there. And I would say it is no more common comorbid than, I would say it's less common to have autism and BPD than it would be to have other diagnoses with BPD, OCD, ADHD, bipolar is more common to have gotten depression, anxiety, those kinds of things, ADHD. But I do see it. Do I think that they exist at the same time? Sometimes, yes, for sure. Many times. Do I think it's like super common? I don't think it's super common. I think it's super helpful. If I'm being completely honest, I would say that I probably fall on the spectrum to some degree. To what degree? I don't know, but to some degree, probably. And I would say it's a plus. Everything's a plus in one way or another. It just depends on how you look at it, right? How you turn that Rubik's Cube to get the different perspective. We'll have to talk about that more in detail sometime soon. Let's see. I missed the comment Pasha had. Is it the we are not our disorders, we own them as part of your identity? Best advice ever given to me. We are not our disorders. We don't own them as part of our identity. That's true. You are not your BPD. And you know what? Like I say that, and I even say like, look, I like having BPD now that I'm better, and I see all the positive attributes of BPD, and I think it's great. But at the same time, I'm not BPD. That's not who I am. And I know this because I was easily able to dismantle all of these negative personality traits that came with it and then add to the positive ones, creating my own distinct personality that I very well chose and groomed and curated myself, very consciously. It was a very conscious decision to become an aware, caring, empathetic person who gives for the right reasons, not to get back, to sacrifice for the right reasons, not to be called the hero. That's not the goal. The goal isn't to be called a hero. The goal is to just do the right thing. And to me, I started looking at life kind of like a puzzle. And there's all these people, and they're looking at this giant table with these pieces, and they're all grabbing pieces and trying to put them in, and nothing's fitting right, and some of it's forming over here in the middle. And I'm just thinking, okay, so I'm in this mix. That my interactions with other people, my conversations with my partner, how I treat myself and talk to myself, what I do for work, the reasons I do things, they're all little puzzle pieces here. And I'm interested in just building this puzzle. That's it. It's no longer for me about trying to be recognized for this or recognized for that or fit in here or fit in there. I just look at this piece and I'm like, oh, this person needs help. Boop. You know what I mean? Oh, this person over here needs help. I can do that. Oh, I can do this. I can do this one too. I can do these. I'll take over this section. I'll do this. And sometimes people come in there and they mess up my space a little bit. That's all right. That's just another part of this problem here that we have. And everybody thinks it's all about just the puzzle. It's not. It's also about how you treat the other people standing around the table trying to work on this puzzle as well. And they might not be the best. They might not be the greatest. They might mess up a lot of stuff. That's part of the equation. That's part of it. I got so angry at people all the time. You don't do this right. You didn't do that right. You're not listening to me. This, that, whatever. And I'm fighting for what? I'm fighting for what? To make these people think that I'm right? Or to make them know that they're wrong? What is the goal? And when I'm honest and I look back at my past and all the disagreements and all the fights and conflicts and episodes, I don't really think I knew what I wanted in any of those moments. And nobody asked me that. They say, why do you act like this? Why are you doing these things? Not, Kevin, can I ask you a question? What do you want? And I don't know that I would have been able to articulate what I want in a way that didn't sound ridiculous because I'm not sure that I wanted anything that wasn't ridiculous. Point blank. I'm sitting there screaming at somebody. What the hell do you want, dude? Like, have you sat down and said, like, why are you so angry about this? Okay, I'm angry about this because, I feel disrespected. Great, but so what do you want, though? Well, I want to be respected. What does that mean? Quantify that. What should she do in this moment so that you feel respected? Do you want her to grovel? Is that what you want? Well, no, I don't want her to grovel. You want her to beg. No, I don't want her to beg. You want her to chase you. Well, does that sound reasonable? You want your partner to always have to chase you to know that you are loved? Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. It's ridiculous, you see? But nobody stopped me and said, hey, what do you want? What are you looking for? And then if I did want something that was articulated in a reasonable way, like I wish that she would care more about my opinion, that sounds reasonable. Okay, well, step out of your body. I hear you, buddy. You want her to care more about your opinion. Sounds reasonable. Let's step out of your body and go look at you from outside of the room. How do you look? Do you look like an idiot? Are you flailing your arms? Are you screaming at the top of your lungs? You turning beet red? Did you throw a plate against the wall? Yeah, I did that. Okay, so next question. Are you likely to get what you want by behaving the way you just did? Of course not. We can all see that at that moment. It unfortunately happens in retrospect when it should be happening beforehand. But nobody's ever taught you how to stop and think and say, well, maybe my emotions are controlling my brain. That might be the case. And I know it feels like I go from 0 to 100 all the damn time. I get it. I get that it's hard. But you have to learn at some point to find these intervention points. And the intervention points are not the triggers. Because we all say, I would be fine if everybody else would stop fucking with me. If they would stop instigating me. They push my buttons. These people push my buttons. Listen to yourself. You're giving power over how you feel and how your Christmas might go and how your days might go and how your life and your marriage and your work might go, all based on what other people do. You've got to start looking at that saying, okay, so the answer here isn't getting other people to stop pushing my buttons, controlling them. That's not the answer. In fact, I want them to be able to tell me the truth. I want them to be able to be honest. I want relationships that are transparent and built on respect. And respect sometimes means somebody comes up to me and says, I disagree with you, Kevin. I disagree with you. You know? Amit and I were talking about some work-related thing yesterday. I think it was yesterday. It might have been 2 days ago. Maybe you remember this, Amit. I don't know. We were talking about some video-related thing with work. And this just is something that occurred to me later. We have a great relationship, Amit and I. We're very honest with each other. But he said at one point, I said some stuff, and then his response was, he started out by saying, well, I disagree with that. Or no, he said, even better. He said, I disagree with you on that, with me, right? And then he goes on to explain why, right? And by the time he was done explaining it, I remember thinking, just these couple days ago when we had this conversation, Amit, I remember thinking, wow, go back in time like 10 years ago, there's no way I'd be able to tolerate that. Him saying, I disagree with you. I wouldn't even listen to the words that came out of his mouth after that. But I want a relationship with people that's built on mutual respect, transparency. Turns out what Amit had to say was extremely valuable and correct, right? But I would have fought the other way to the point where all my friends and business partners and romantic partners and family, they get trained into not telling me the truth simply because they don't want to have to deal with the fallout. It's ridiculous. Christy says, good morning, Christy. I find that I do tell the truth a lot more now than ever, and then get mad because he doesn't acknowledge. So that's that second part of the sentence. I get mad because they don't acknowledge. Here's the thing. It's not so important to me on the remission side that someone acknowledges me. That part goes away. That part goes away, and it becomes more so just about doing the right thing all the time. And it turns out that actually builds a good life. It builds good relationships. It builds good rapport. It builds a good reputation. You maintain dignity, self-respect. You are able to make dents in the universe now because you are concerned about what's good overall and less about what you in particular are getting or not getting, right? And it's so funny how BPD finds its way into everything. I mean, it's not really funny. It's a persistent condition. The positive part of that, though, is in remission, all those things that BPD did, all the negative stuff, it kind of becomes positive stuff. So it lacing itself into your life is really not that bad. There's a problem in the room, you're going to be the first one to solve it. There's somebody who's upset, you're going to be the first one to know and the first one who's able to make them better. You know, you're going to be the best partner in the room, the best romantic partner you could be. You're going to be the best friend that anybody could ask for. But you have to assume those roles, and you have to leave behind that victim mentality that says, why am I not getting the things that I deserve? You'll get them just fine. And things aren't the way you think they are. You see it one way before remission. And then after remission, you're like, oh, geez, man. I cannot believe that I thought this way. I cannot believe that I saw things this way. Alora says, can you give me some coping mechanism for episodes, or even when you know it's going to happen? Sure. Yes. So the first stage in the scenario is, what can we do long term to try and reduce the episodes? I'll tell you that when you first start this journey, and take it seriously, Alora, you are still likely to have some episodes. So I want you first to change your expectation from, I'm never going to have them again and I can't have them ever and I'm a failure if I do, to, it's normal in this process to still have some. I'm on board, I'm trying to get better. There's going to be some tough days and I'm not going to know everything that I need to know in order to get out of this just yet. So number one piece of advice is recover faster. Recover faster. You know all the episodes that you've had in your life? Yeah, they were bad. Yeah, they had consequences, but they sure the hell don't matter now, right? I mean, pragmatically, from where we are right now, logically, from where we stand right now, we aren't our past. We've learned to let go of some of that. So then let go faster in the moment, okay? Focus less on guilt, blame, shame, and embarrassment and fault, and more on accountability and responsibility. How can I fix this for the people who are involved? That kind of thing. The next thing I want you to do is look at the emotional tank training tool that I have. There's a link in my profile in the link tree. It's in the resource center, but there's also a link directly to the tool in my link tree. If you're on YouTube, because we post these to YouTube, just go to sensitivestability.com, click on the menu, click the resource center, and you're looking for the emotional tank training tool. The idea here is to get used to breaking down emotional content. There's a reason why I call my system interventive emotional skills, not interventive trigger skills, right? It's because you can't stop the triggers. The triggers happen all the time. You have to get ahead of these triggers in terms of perspective changes. That's how you stop it long term, which requires a lot of work, and you're doing that work, showing up here every day, for example, okay? But in the meantime, when things are starting to feel like they're building up, you need to be draining the tank, and you need to understand what that means. So walk yourself through that tool, read the directions very carefully, and start there. That will help. Lynn says, I just joined. I don't know what BPD is. BPD stands for borderline personality disorder, as Tina has said here. Good morning, Rennie. Good to see you. The first time I heard borderline personality disorder, every time somebody comes in here and they say, what is BPD? It shoots me back to like the first time I heard the condition, right? The first time I heard the words borderline personality disorder, they were coming out of my ex-wife's mouth when she tried to explain to me that this is what it is. Somehow she figured it out. I don't know how, but she did. And I say that because the internet I legit don't know how she figured it out. I mean, it's obvious to me now. I very clearly am like the most extreme, full-blown case of this ever. But I was so good at crafting and curating my world. I'm surprised somebody was able to figure out through all the control and manipulation that I had constructed. Anyway, I'm blown away that happened. But the first time I heard it, I thought, hell no. No. That's all I remember thinking was, no, I don't want this. Get out of my face. Don't ever say those words again. I didn't want anything to do with it. And it's because it sounded so scary. And I didn't even have that negative stigma part of it, where society has actually made it into this really terrible thing. I didn't know anything about it at all. I'd never heard about it ever. So, and I still wanted nothing to do with it. Thanks, Sil. But I wasted a lot of time not addressing the problems and being scared, like really scared of accepting that something like this could be wrong with me. At the same time, kind of excited because now there was a reason that I really was unique and special. Even if it was a bad thing, it made me feel somehow strangely better. And I think that's because I knew that I had all these creative genius attributes about me. And they were going overlooked because of my behavior. My poor behavior was trumping my creative genius. But now that I have this condition, there's something to explain all this poor behavior, and now I could just be the creative genius, right? And there's an excuse. So it almost kind of made it worse for a little while, if you ask me. Christy says, I get that a lot. I'm trying to be better, but the episodes are few, but still, damn it. Thanks, Amit. Nice job. But still spiked to 100 and rude. Okay, well, trying is the first step. And then I would say to you, you specifically use the word rude. Let me make sure that's true. Yes, you do. They spiked to 100%. Now I'm rude. Rude is a form of anger, and it's targeting specific people generally. So I would say that the people who are being targeted, the people who you are being rude to, you feel wronged by. You feel genuinely hurt by that. The question is did they actually hurt you or not? Okay, well, before we could dive into that, we have to agree, which I think we do, that the episode side is overreacting. So that's not getting you anywhere closer to what you want. Could you have been really wronged? Many times we are. Many times we are really wronged, and it's the other person who did something wrong first. But that's hardly relevant when you get to the point where you're throwing a TV out the damn window. At that point, you are the problem, undeniably. You punch a hole in the wall, you're the problem. You start screaming, you're the problem. You threaten your life, you threaten something like that, you run off, pack your bags, you're the problem. So I'm not saying it like you should feel terrible that you're the problem. I'm saying, like, let's start doing some math and looking at things from the mathematical perspective. Because that's how you get out of this. You start looking at things as data. You stop taking things so personally, and you start understanding that I'm just somebody sitting at this table with this massive jigsaw puzzle, and we're all working on it together, and I'm getting pissed off that this person's putting their piece down in the wrong spot. I'm going to smash the table and make it harder for everybody to do their job. Just focus on your corner right now, you know? And treat yourself like somebody that you care about, and that person wouldn't destroy their reputation. Start looking at it from that perspective. But rude means anger. Anger masks pain. Pain, you were hurt. Something hurt you. Might not even been in the moment. Could have been way back in the day. Could have been childhood. But something hasn't been made peace with, and that's internal. Good morning, Marie. Good to see you here. Can you explain what an episode is actually? An episode is the communication that after you have run out of words to explain yourself. Because we always regret these episodes. We regret the consequences of the episodes. We know we look silly or childish or primitive when we're having the episodes. We know all this stuff, yet they're still happening. It's because you've run out of words to describe things. Thank you, Sue. Good morning and Merry Christmas to you. We've run out of words and other methodologies to be able to express how you're feeling. I always say it like this. I'm screaming. She doesn't hear me, so I pick the plate up and I throw it against the wall, and I look at her and I say, hear me now? But of course not. Of course, well, actually, yes. She's heard me the whole time is the point. She heard me when I was soft-spoken. She heard me when I was loud. She heard me when I threw the plate. But I'm missing something. There's something I'm missing about the scenario. but I'm going to resort to the primitive mechanisms that I've learned as a child and growing up to express to people how much pain I'm in, or how much this hurt me, or how much I disagree, or how much you should believe in me, or feel I'm right. And because I don't have the words to articulate this, I'm going to do these things so that you see it. And they say, wow, that person really is hurt. That's the only way they could have ever done that. Wow, look at them hurt themselves. They must be really in heavy pain. And here's the problem with the episode. When I was doing it, I didn't realize this till much later in life, but I did realize it eventually. I was doing it because I really thought that other people could help me. I really did. I really, really believed that other people could help me. They can't help you through this. They cannot help you through BPD like this. They don't know what you're thinking. They don't know what you're feeling. They can't mind read. And even if they could, you can't articulate your feelings. That's part of the issue here. You have an extremely high intelligence with this condition usually. You also have an extremely high emotional intelligence with this condition. People think you don't because of how you behave. But it turns out you actually understand everyone else's feelings perfectly. It's that they don't understand your feelings. That's the problem. And then that puts us in a position of rage and anger and feeling alone. And I felt so alone all my life. To be honest, if I'm being completely honest, you feel less alone when you start understanding the outside world. Like, I understand Carolyn's feelings, I understand my friends' feelings, I understand my business partners and my family, so it makes me feel less alone to understand theirs fully. They still don't really understand mine fully. Even though I can articulate everything now, they still don't get it. Okay? And I still have more emotional content, more feelings than the outside world. That's okay. But you want to know the truth? When I feel least alone, like mentally, cognitively, in this condition, it's when I'm talking to someone else that has it. I'm helping you through BPD. I feel understood in that moment more than I do in my typical life. Do you get it? Because you know how I'm feeling. So then we don't have to explain it to each other. You know what I mean? It's like instead we could focus on how to behave properly so that the rest of the world, you get more of what you want. You see? Sue. Sue is a good friend of mine. Thank you for showing up every day, Sue. Thank you, Kevin and Sensitive Stability team, for your dedication and support through the year. You're very welcome, Sue. I'm happy to have met you. I really am. You've made my life a lot better, like many of you who I become friends with and find here. I am greatly blessed with the connections that I have made. I really am. All of you make my life more fulfilling. And I'm a happier person knowing that, seeing that not only I can make a dent in the universe, but that all these other people can too. I mean, really, it's not that hard to switch your mentality over from somebody who's worried about what they're not getting to somebody who's worried about how they can help. But I'll tell you that the benefits of it are insane. They're incredible. And I think about all the lives that are better from all of you who are helping other people or talking to other people or trying to give to the outside world or improve the outside world. It makes me quite happy. We're all in it together. That's the truth. And yes, this show is just touching base on this. Nice, perfect timing, Amit. Christy asks if this is on every day. Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. US EST. Amit and I take this very seriously, and we wake our asses up early, and we get up, and we shower, put our clothes on, and we get on here, and we do this every day, Monday through Friday. 7 a.m. US EST. Talk about a different topic related to borderline personality disorder. Now, if you can't make it this early some days, that's okay. Or if this is just really early in general and you happen to catch us here, there's no excuse, really. We post them all on YouTube. So you can hop over to YouTube and see over 100 hours of these lives. Amit has also been slaving his ass away, cutting all these. Not only does he cut them to YouTube for us, thank you, Amit, but he also has been slaving on this new project where we're turning them all into podcast episodes. Right now we're on Spotify. Pretty soon we'll be on all the stuff. But trying to make it more accessible. Some people catch the live show some days, and then other days they might want to watch the YouTube at home, or other days maybe a lot of you I know listen in the car on the way to work and stuff like that, or you listen at work in your earbuds or something. The Spotify idea, the podcast idea, all Amit's idea, by the way, was great because some people don't want to have the YouTube up. They just want to listen. So I'm grateful to have him. We all are. It's a good friend. So that said, this morning we were talking a lot about what's fair, what isn't fair, What is fair? I mean, really, what is fair? Can you imagine being me? You fought and got out of this condition. I really didn't want much to do with this condition. And when I got out of it, I still didn't really want anything to do with it, right? And then I thought, well, there's all these other people who are trapped in it. I got to do something about this. This is something I'm passionate about that I have to do something about, because I remembered how tough it was. I remembered my struggle, and I thought, this is miserable. I can't believe there's other people. And I knew there's no help I couldn't find anything that helped me, I couldn't find any person out there. So I thought, well, maybe I should do this. And I thought, that's not fair. Now I have to spend my life still trapped by BPD to some extent. Because all of a sudden this mission became clear. Now that I beat it for myself, I have to launch a nuke at all BPD. You know what I mean? I gotta take it out across the world somehow. All of this has to be eliminated. And I remember going through this phase where I thought, this isn't fair. I got screwed, and I had it my whole life, and everything was terrible, and it ruined so many things for me, and now I have to stay in it. But who better to fight that battle than people who have gotten out of it? Who better to fight that battle than somebody who's been there before? Is it really fair? I mean, if something's raiding your village every 10 years, like Grendel, and then you happen to be a warrior who's capable of slaying that beast, you're going to bitch about what's fair? Or are you just going to do the right thing? So at some point, I decided to step into those shoes, and then I've never stepped out of them. And I just keep doing it every day. I just keep fighting this every day for all of you. Every single day, it's another dragon, another dragon. One person gets to remission, another one gets loaded in immediately after that. One person figures out they have it, we get them over here, now there's the next, and the next, and the next, and it never stops. Well, is that fair? I mean, does it fucking matter? If I'm the most capable person on the planet right now for helping people see clearly, am I going to bitch about that or just do it? Do you get it? And you do it because it's the right thing to do. And then I see each of you get to remission, and then all of a sudden you're also doing the things that you should be doing because it's the right thing to do. And not only do I notice that you now feel fulfilled as a person and happy and blessed and correct in the world, thank you, Sue, but you're helping other people get there too. So is it worth it? Absolutely it is. Does it make the world a better place to do the right thing? 100%. And it doesn't mean you have to fight BPD. You know the things that you're supposed to be doing, the things that you're supposed to be helping with. You know the people in your life who need help. That's the truth. And you know that you're able to do that for them. And instead, we often spend a lot of time thinking about the stuff we're not getting, when in reality, we need to be focused on what you can do to make a dent in the universe, what you can do to make the world a better place. And that's part of the cure. Part of the cure is giving, and giving because you are the capable one. Star says BPD Warriors Unite. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. The amount of good that we can make in the world is so significant. It's so unbelievable to me. It's astronomical in proportion or in size. And because we've been overlooked so long by the outside world, we now think we're worthless. It's so crazy backwards from that. It's so far from the truth. The idea that you are worthless. It's not even funny or something that I want to entertain too greatly. You know you've got it inside. So it's about time you connect with that and you start doing stuff in the real world. That said, guys, we are at the end of our BPD live show here. I want to say happy holidays, Merry Christmas to all of you. I hope that you have a nice, peaceful day. And I will see you again tomorrow, 7 a.m. US EST. Don't forget, all these get posted on YouTube. We're also posting these on Spotify now. So there's no excuse. We're everywhere. Thanks for showing up. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you all tomorrow. Merry Christmas, guys.